Thank you very much for joining us here in the backyard at Bloss, and we are delighted to be kicking off the panel discussions with something that's going to be very crucial for any of our finalist producers here, and it is all about telling your story. And one of the things that anyone who has been with us before or has even experienced some of the energy that's happening out here tonight is what we do in the Bloss Village is we make things work very hard. Not just our team, but the space and also people's time. So one of the things that we would like producers really to find out about is how best to tell their story. And Brian, I'm going to come to you first because with radio experience, you know both the pressure and the time constraints. So what would be some of your tips on getting to the point, and what do you know is the point?
I think getting to the point rather than the platform is key, and in getting to the point, it is that real familiar. I seem to say this every year where I say to people, take a moment and ask yourself, who are you? What do you do? And try and get it into a little summary and get that into your mind, get it in subconscious. And I don't mean it in a cocky way, I just literally mean, what is your brand? What is it that you do? And what is the best way to message it? Because it isn't always product first. Consider everything a conversation, and no different to radio yesterday. I mean, we had a circus yesterday. Naturally, you're in the middle of budget, and the only topic that we have on RT Radio 1 is garlic. Now, what an opportunity, because that just gave everybody a release, and everything right up to the minute I got in that studio was distractive. Car park, you here for the budget? No. Right through reception the whole way in. Point being, I had to stay on message. What was I there for? There to talk about, we're in the middle of a series which is looking at hero ingredients. So all of that distraction, I had to get back to what am I here to talk about? And when you're talking about it, know what you're talking about. Be confident in it. And I think the only way you'll get to that point is by, again, understanding who is it you are, what is it you do, or what's your role, what are the products, and also what do you want to gain from any platform when you eventually do get on there. And I know I'm going to be around all weekend, but I will put this side as well, and that is that, don't always look and think, oh, there he is harping on again on the radio, and geez, he didn't mention our garlic now, does he not like it? It's not about that, because there's a commercial sensitivity now more than ever in a lot of what you can do. So see people that are on those platforms as being very approachable. They need the producers, they need the story, and they need the product. So is that something you can lean into when you're comfortable and happy that you know what your message is, and then you want to press that button to get that message out? What are those platforms? Who are those people? And start approaching them simply like a conversation. Some of that can happen here this weekend.
I think that's a very good point. And do you know what? The woman to tell us a little bit more about that then is Sharon Noonan, because Sharon, from the point of view of a mentor who has worked with us, not just on online marketing, but speaks not just very well, but quite intently on getting people to network and think about connecting with things. So what advice would you give to producers on their networking here over the weekend and who to kind of make those right points with?
Well, look, all around you, there's new faces as well as faces that you know already. And I think it's very much to ask yourself, what do you want to get out of these few days? It's not just about going in next door and picking up the awards. That might be the main reason why you're here. But there's so many other benefits from being here. And Brian has just said how he needs content for his slot on RT Radio 1 with Claire Byrne. I hope you will be surrounded by people now. Like, that's a call to action. Like, come up to Brian and say, this is what I do, this is what I do. If you can't get near him, engage with him on social media, contact him by a DM, maybe on Instagram, and say, like, I really listened to what you said there, and I have a product, this is what it does. And if there's any opportunities, I'd really welcome the chance to explore it with you. So, networking can take place in person, but also online, and, all the different social media opportunities that are here. What you're talking about, authenticity, like who are you, what is your product, what's your business all about, and to use your social media platforms to get those messages across as well. But one thing that is really important to remember while you're here, brilliant opportunities to take photographs. They don't have to be used here and now on social media. Do very much try to live in the moment and enjoy what's going on, as opposed to maybe getting stuck into trying to do a reel and it takes you half an hour to do it. You can do that next week. Jen was saying about the opportunity with BLOS isn't just here now, there's 12 months of it. So the more content you gather up while you're here for the next couple of days, the more content you'll have to share on your platforms.
Thanks a million, Sharon. And actually, I think when you're saying there about you can do it now or you can do it over the next little while, it's one of the ones that would have come up in quite a few of, we do a lot of online backyard training sessions, which some of you would have joined us for. And each of the guys would have been some of our mentors. But Vivienne, you would have really spoken about from the PR point of view and how people make a plan for that.
Yeah. One
One of the questions that comes up consistently from producers is how do they approach? What's appropriate? What's kind of, how do they, if they know there's a journalist that they'd like to make that approach to, if it's not here in person at the weekend, what's the polite or appropriate way? That's what we always get asked.
Yeah, and there is etiquette as well. So, first of all, I'm 20 years in PR. I've worked with fast-moving consumer goods. I've worked all different kinds of clients. But fundamentally, my background is working in the pub with my dad's business. So I understand from both sides, producer and PR. Yes, one of the most common questions I ask, how do I contact the journalist, or what do I do, or they never get back to me. So for me, PR, public relations, it's a two-way communication. It's mutual understanding with each other. It's a long game. So a lot of people think, oh, this needs to go viral, or, I need to get reaction to this. But it's your relationship over time. So today you're here for the weekend. It's the people you meet, and it's building that relationship for the next time you need to approach someone or a journalist or Brian down the line. When you're contacting a journalist, they get about 200 emails a day. So how are you going to stand out from that? And it goes back from telling your story. Know how to tell your story. Know what you're saying. Know who their audience is. And does their audience match yours? Because there's no point going to RT Radio 1 if you're trying to talk to the young Gen Z. I'm Gen X, I think.
None of us are it, so that's okay.
Gen Z, they're on TikTok over there. Today's world, no one is Googling. They're all on TikTok. So you need to be there if that's who you're talking to. So when you are approaching a journalist, and like down here at the weekend, there's going to be Ali Dunworth, Dee Laffin, Caroline Hennessy's down here from the Irish Food Writers. There's so many of them. Anthony O'Toole is down here. I know he has his own business going on, but there's so many different journalists down here. Chefs, yourself, Brian, but also Erica Drum. And what they need in order for you to stand out from the others is really good images. So if you've got a product image, don't forget to take lifestyle images with that. So you have a really fantastic packaging, your branding looks good, you've got product, looks great, but have it how you use it. So is it for fitness purposes, or is it for your families? And get that visual for them so they can use it. Also, a good tip is for the seasons. So make sure you have your products when you do a photo shoot, because they can be expensive and you're investing time. Get the most out of that. So try and get some Halloween pics in there as well, and Christmas pics that are relevant, so you can leverage that over the year. Also, when you're contacting them, be very clear with your subject matter. If it's new product launching, or how this is going to solve your reader's problem or your listener's problem, make sure you're coming with whatever that solution your product is, you're able to say that to the journalist. First paragraph is very important. The who, what, where, when, why, and how. So make sure you have all that information. The price, the recommended retail price. These are all the little tips to have when you get in touch with the journalist, but have really good images. I can't stress that enough, Sharon, you'll know this. And also, Sharon talked about social media. They're going to look at your website. They're going to look at your social media. They're going to want to find out about you. So just make sure that, everything's there, all the information. Have a look. If there's anything you do and you go home after this weekend, as Sharon said, embrace everything that's happening, and, don't think about, oh God, I need to get that up on social media. But remember that when you're looking back on it, I've lost my train of thought there, but
I think actually there was something that I wanted to pick up on there when you were talking about that top line paragraph, if you don't mind me picking up on that. Because bringing it back to the weekend here, if you translate that top line paragraph into that first, I'm putting my hand out here. So the one thing that I'd say we should remind every producer here is that, yes, we're in West Kerry. Some people have driven an hour. Some people have driven 6 hours. Some people have driven a lot longer. And people have travelled because they want to meet every one of the finalist producers who are here. People aren't making that journey because they don't want to see the producers. So we always encourage producers to make sure you put your hand out, make sure you meet everybody that you can, and be confident in that. But you have to translate that top line paragraph into that first line of a conversation.
Yeah.
So, Brian, I'm going to come back to you on this one. That first introduction. What is it that you want to see? If someone comes up and puts their hands out, what's the thing that'll spark the interest?
I think I was always taught people by people, first and foremost, and that is the opportunity when you're having that engagement. And sometimes that's about personality. And I know people say, oh, that's not me. So I'm going to come on to confidence. And it is, I think the confidence has to come from that exercise of who are we? What do? We have a brand, we have a label. Let's get confident in it rather than racing around in there in that showcase tomorrow and going, what's everyone else doing? Everyone else is looking at you. Everyone else is thinking the same thing. We're all doing it with each other. We're all looking at each other going, what is it you do? At some point, you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Get comfortable with yourself and say to yourself, right, this is who I am right now. And that is where that engagement, that is where that conversation, but more importantly, it might be just as simple as a presence. Because I'm looking around this room and I'm seeing producers and I'm going, oh, it's nice to see them here. So that presence is the first and foremost thing. That goes out the window at about 7 o'clock when we're all lashing wine in down at the... But it still is an opportunity. And that might actually be, the moment where you wake up tomorrow morning going, geez, I can't believe what I said to John in the bank. What did I say? But it also has started something. So I think I'm going to close that point by just saying, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is that addressing who you are, what you do, or what your role is, or otherwise if you're not self-employed, and having that confidence to tell that story from that understanding and see that as you now being the brand, the label, the packaging, whatever it is. And if you don't have the confidence to do that and you still don't have the confidence after a couple of wine, then just be here, be present, and make sure that people know kind of who you are and that you've registered you're here, because confidence grows. It's as simple as that. If confidence grows, so does the company, so does the products, so does innovation, and that is a fact.
And can I just come in then from a social media perspective? Like, it is good to show your face on social media because people do like to know that who they're buying from, especially when it's small producers. So if that's professional photography, and Vivienne has mentioned that, it is very expensive, but go to your local enterprise office or contact Invest Northern Ireland or some of the other agencies to see if there's any funding for that professional photography, because that can really cut down on the cost for you. And then the other point about the food writers is most of them are members of the Irish Food Writers Guild. There's a website there that lists all of those journalists. And again, it's not necessarily just about them writing about you. They also have awards, and Maria Finnegan is here from Roll It Pastry, and Maria won an Irish Food Writers Guild award last year. Like, that's the members of the guild decide who get those awards, and they are also very prestigious awards as well. And I'm sure Maria will tell you about her experience of getting that award and the benefits that it has brought to her business. So if journalists don't know about you, they can't write about you, and they certainly can't give you an award if they don't know about
I think as well, Sharon, that's a perfect example of it's not always about your product. There's other things going on in your life or in the business that is making a story, can make a story, and is probably easier to put out there because it's non-commercial. And that is everything from taking part in the swim with clothes right through to...
I think you might get better coverage if you have no clothes, or maybe that's a bit of an oxymoron.
It was only 10 minutes ago you put out about take loads of pictures, you don't have to use them all. I was thinking...
Yeah.
So, to wrap it up, I think you've both given us very good action points. Vivienne, I'm going to call on you on the last point before we go to questions. Is there a thing to do, an action point?
Yeah,
you'd like producers to
I'm
do?
going to blatantly say one of my clients today, and I thought it was lovely. I prompted, I said, look, share your photos. But Pizza Di Piero, who's a former winner here and finalist and winner over years, posted a really lovely collage of all her images with her family, and the kids have grown, which is gorgeous to see. And I was so happy to see that because she's listening, that, share everything you have. And it's timely. They're not here this year, but they hope to be back next year. But she saw an opportunity to wish everyone else well because she understands. She knows how important these awards are, and it's not just about the glass. So that's to show you, like, when you're here, you never know when you're going to use it again. Your experiences, you may not be here next year, but you can still be in the conversation and wish your colleagues well. So get that glass if you win it, and if not, if you're a finalist and you don't, come in here, say hi to everyone. I'll and Abby with the photo, get a nice photo in the backyard or outside. Use it whenever you want, and enjoy yourself. Meet other people, other producers, because you don't know who you're going to be collaborating with down the line. You may meet someone here, your products complement each other, and you decide to do something about that. Have that photo where you first met here, because that's the start of the story. So it's those kind of things to think about.
And it's like what Artie said, like, it is a community, and if you see somebody who does look a bit like a fish out of water, it could be their first time here, do go up and introduce yourself to them and ask them that. And, nobody should be left on their own, like, because there are plenty of people that have been around the block over the past 17 years, have been here every year for the past 17 years, that can be there to support. So it is very much about supporting each other, with a view maybe to potential collaborations down the road as well.
And nobody is unapproachable. I remember listening to a conversation, I think it was in the cinema years ago, about somebody dying to speak to a journalist and a chef. Everybody is approachable. And I'll finish on the point that I started. They need you. They need their story. They need the products. And again, even for chefs, chefs get too much credit. You're the hard workers. You're the risk takers. You are the people that put product onto shelves. Chefs just get the joy of picking it up and feeling like they have a bit of a brand behind it. So it's itchy, and it'll always be, as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for the panel that you'd like to jump in on? All quiet. Okay, well, what I would say is that we will have panels running all throughout. We've one more coming up this evening, all throughout the day tomorrow and on Saturday morning. So be sure to follow along on all of those. And like the guys said, approach any one of our mentors, or any of us. So thank you very much. Thanks for joining us for the first panel.
Thank you. I'll just say who's coming up.